Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about assembling our machinist square. Okay, so here on my screen, I have what your machinist square is going to look like at the end of this process. But right now, your machinist square looks a lot more like this, where you have a handle, a blade, and a rivet. And again, all three of these parts must be in the same document in order to be able to assemble them after the fact. Okay, so whenever we're creating a multi-part assembly, all of our parts are together and then the assembly becomes part of that and then the drawing becomes part of that as well, right? Everything is within the same document. So you already have an assembly tab open up on yours, which you can use. But since I've already created an assembly, I'm going to create a new assembly. So create assembly, and then we will begin. So the first thing I want to do is I want to rename my assembly, and I realize that sometimes it seems like not such a big deal, but it does make things easier moving forward. We can see what everything is below and work from there. All right. So at the top left here, we have insert. And again, we're going to find stuff under here, our part studios. Okay, so I have my blade, my handle, and my rivet. I'm going to take one of each of these and I'm going to drop them into my part. Now, we're going to ultimately need 4 rivets, and I could go through and I could actually drop 4 rivets right now, or I can later on use copy and paste to create another one. And one thing that's really important is once you've dropped your parts, you need to hit the checkbox. So today, we're going to be talking about the most basic of mates available in this program. Later on, we'll talk about more like ones that we can animate and have move. But today, we're going to be talking about the fasten mate. Okay, so mating is how we assemble parts together in the program. So the first thing that we're going to fasten, which again is up here, is we are going to fasten our handle to our origin to lock it in place. So I'm going to select the bottom right corner of my handle, and I am going to select my origin, and I'm going to snap them to place. Now, when we go to create these different pieces and these different mates, we need to be carefully looking at the different planes. You can see that there's a little X here, a Y, and a Z. These are my planes of origin, okay? And because I was really careful to design things in their proper orientation, this gets a little bit easier right now. But if this was not going up, then I could reorient based upon like whatever direction I wanted it to go. I could flip it around, right? I can do some different things with this. But once I have this upright, and again, when I'm looking at like the front view, it should be facing up, and I should see the front of this object. We're going to click the checkbox. Okay? So what that's done at this point is that has anchored my handle in place based upon the origin, which is a fixed point in space. While like you can see that all of my other parts at this point, I can click and I can drag and move them around. So we're going to do more fasten mates today to fully assemble this piece. The shortcut for a fasten mate is in M. Right? Yeah, M. I don't know why that's not working. It should be an M. So when we go to create fasten mates, again, you got to look really close at the corner there, right? Because no matter how zoomed in I get, that thing doesn't get any bigger or smaller. But you can see that I have a green axis that's going vertical. I have a green, so that's blue vertical. My green axis, oops, it just was. See, now things are flipping around here. What I really want is I want my blue axis to be vertical, just like that, okay? So sometimes you got to flip it around like, see, if I select that line first, like I just hover it, and then I come to my corner, you can see that that blue point has attached vertically there. So that's like the, front bottom corner of this object. You know, when I look at it from the front here, you can kind of see that that's that corner there. So we need to select that same point in space on our handle that we want to attach this thing to, right? So I need to find the lower front corner that that thing's going to attach. And again, I want to make sure you can see like my blue handle is now going to the side. I need to hover over my vertical line first, then come up and see it didn't work. So again, I'm going to do it again. Come up, find that point, and then come down. Sometimes you might get confused with like different stuff at the same point. If you just hover over a surface and then hold the shift key, then it will only select options on that surface. Okay, so let's, although it seems like it's also, there we go. There I was just able to attach that. Okay, so now I have these two pieces connected. And again, if things weren't quite right, I could like mess around with reorienting that piece. Then I can click the checkbox. So now we're ready to add our 4 rivets. Again, I only have 3 here, so I'm just going to highlight a rivet or hit escape, highlight a rivet. I'm going to hit Control C for copy. Then I'm going to click like outside of that, and then I'm going to hit Control V to drop my new one. Stop fastening. It wants to fasten everything.
Attention all
Copy
Shaker
part.
High School students, phase 2 of dismissal is now
Paste
phase
part.
2
All right.
and final call, phase 2.
So let's go through here. I don't know why none of my shortcuts are working for some reason. Don't get that. But anyways, let's mate our 4 rivets to where they belong, right? So again, we're going to click the mate. I'm going to select this, right? So here my blue axis is coming out. I just want to make sure that my blue axis is coming out here as well, right? And again, if I select that and it's not in the right orientation, then you can like flip it around, but we'll click the checkbox to solve for that. Okay, then we're going to create a new mate between here and here. And we're going to click the checkbox, create a new mate between that surface there and that surface there. And then lastly, we're going to create a new mate. If my shortcuts were working, I would be using the M tool for shortcuts. This is not quite right with my computer right now. We're going to have that. Okay, so at this point, nothing should be moving on your drawing. Okay, if you click and drag all of these things, they should be locked in place, which is exactly what we want to happen here. So that's assembling a part, but now we're going to add like a few more details to that part. Okay, so the first detail we're going to do is we're going to, okay, so one of the very first things that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this origin, right? So let's just come up and turn off the visibility on our origin or hide our origin. Then on the right side here, there are these tabs, and one of these tabs is the Bill of Materials tab, okay? BOM, Bill of Materials. So I already have put this information in here, and I can't actually like delete it at this point because it's associated with each one of these parts. I'm going to show you this process in my king and queen. Okay, so here I have an assembly with my king and queen. They're not really doing anything, right? But again, this is just to show you what the table looks like. So when I click BOM table, it tells me I have item 1, and see when I highlight item 1, that's my king. And then when I click on item 2, it highlights my queen. So we can actually go through and edit like what these things are. So in this case, part 1 is my king, and it is the black king, we can say. And then part 2 is my queen, and again, it is the black queen. And then I can close that. Now that information is associated with my king and queen, right? So going back to what you guys are going to be doing when you click on the BOM here, When I highlight part one, in my case, part one is the handle. Maybe in your case, part one is something different, but highlight part one, and whichever one this is, then that's what you're going to name it. So again, this thing is called the handle, and it is made out of aluminum. So we're going to write handle, and we're going to say description aluminum. The top part here is the blade, and that's made out of steel. So I've labeled the part number blade and the description steel. And then finally, our 4 rivets, which you can tell that there are 4 of them underneath quantity. You're going to call that the rivets, and we're going to make that out of brass. Okay? So now we're going to come, after that's done, we are ready to move on to the final drawing necessary for this project. All right, so the drawing. We are going to add a title page to our drawing set. Okay, and this title page is going to have an isometric view. It's going to have what are called part bullets, and or part balloons, and it's going to have the bill of materials. Okay, so let's show you what this thing is going to look like, and then I'll show you how to do it. So I have my isometric view, it's shaded. I have a part balloon that points to part 1, which is the handle, part 2, which is the blade, and part 3, which is the rivet. Okay, I also have my title down here. So just like before, and we'll start this from scratch, we're going to say insert sheet. Okay, and within this sheet here, we're going to insert a view. And in this case, here's my piece, but I don't want a front view. I want an isometric view. Okay, and I don't really want my scale to be 1/2. In this case, I want my scale to be full scale. All right, so I'm going to drop that onto my sheet. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is right click here and say show shaded views to turn on my color. And then let's insert our bill of materials. So bill of materials is across the top here. We have tables, and then next to tables we have bill of material table. Okay, so we're going to select bill of materials. We're going to select where we want the bill of materials, which is going to be in the top right. Then it references this thing. And if you don't have handle, blade, rivet, aluminum, steel, and brass here, that's because you didn't update your parts and your bill of materials table over here. So you need to fix this, come back to drawing. Maybe you'll have to hit the refresh button. I'm not really sure. But then it will update your chart here. So add part balloons, we're going to select up here these call outs. Okay, and for each individual part, we're going to add a call out. So here's part 2 call out, and I can just click the checkbox when I'm done with that. I can do my next call out or my next part balloon on my handle. Again, I'm going to click the checkbox there. And then lastly, I'm going to create a part balloon for the rivet. Oops, but you see, that's referencing number 1. I'm actually referencing my handle again, not the rivet itself. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to give that a second try. This time I want to just make sure that it's the rivet that I'm selecting. Let's see if that works. Nope. There it is. Okay, and now I can reference point 3 and click the checkbox. Okay, now typically this would be like the first drawing you create in a sheet set, and the first drawing has like this big, piece here. But right now, don't worry about it. Just come down here to drawing number, double click on the inside here. Let's delete that. Machinist square. Boom. And if yours is being drawn like way down here at the end of the sheet set, right? So we have sheet 1, which was that, then up to sheet 4, which is, or in your case, maybe sheet 3, which is your rivet. We're going to take that title sheet that we just created and we're going to move it to the top of the list. Okay, So when we go through our sheet set, the first drawing should be this. Then the second drawing should be your handle. The third drawing should be your blade. And then lastly, your fourth drawing is going to be your rivet. Okay? And again, just like before, you're going to print up your PDF of this and you're going to turn in the whole document, even though you've already turned in these other 3 drawings to me to this point. You're going to turn this whole document, and this time, realistically, I'm only looking at this sheet and making sure that everything else is there in the end, right? So again, right click down here, say export, create your PDF and send it to me, all right? And if there are any questions in the end here, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to reach out. But again, we are looking for these individual 4 sheets, our title sheets, our handle, blade, and rivet after that. All right, let me know if you have any questions.